we are back. Welcome. This is Geeks for Sil, in case you weren't aware. Thank you so much for joining us on what is, I believe, day 4 of our cryptid Halloween series. So once again, it's just me and Amy. David will be out for the rest of the cryptid series, but he will be back, and we'll be bringing you more primo content. But today we are continuing our cryptid series. We're doing Black-Eyed Children today, if I'm not mistaken.
Children, super fun.
Black-Eyed Children, once again, kind of hugging that line between the supernatural and the cryptid realm.
The physical and the paranormal.
Right. Excuse me. So if you've ever heard, children sing "Ring Around the Rosie," in one of those creepy movies, you'll be well aware that children are just in general creepy.
They can be, yeah. Or if you've ever had a child come up and tell you something that you feel like they definitely shouldn't know, maybe about a grandparent or someone that's passed away, sometimes recently, they come tell you something that you're like, how did you know that about that person? And they don't really have an explanation, just they told me so, and then run away, and you're like, but you haven't seen them, have you? But this is a little different than that.
Yeah, this is less that innocent ESP and more full on who you're gonna call.
Yeah, they are the monster themselves.
So why don't you brief us on what these little critters are?
Yeah, so the Black-Eyed Children are spooky children that usually live in urban areas, in those little wooded pockets that are maybe, that forest behind your house or something. They live in there, supposedly. And they say if a child or 2 or 3 children ever come knock on your door and they ask to use the phone, or they ask if they can come inside and get something to eat, or they need help in some way, they're usually asking for help. Don't let them in. Check their eyes. Look them in the eye. See what color they are. If they're all black, say no. Walk away. These little creatures feed on people that, see someone innocent and maybe want to help them and do a good deed. And nobody's ever really lived to tell the tale what happens if you let them in. There's, I think, the first instance of somebody actually reporting the Black-Eyed Children to, the authorities was this guy. He was in his car. He had 2 boys, maybe at around 15 and 12, come up, claimed to be brothers. They said, hey, we were trying to go to the movies. Can you let us in your car and help us out? And he was like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't anywhere near the movies. This isn't these boys are kind of given a weird vibe. And they both had a hood and a hat on, so it was kind of hard to see their face, and it was dark. And he was like, I just didn't get a good vibe off these kids. These kids weren't really legit. And the children said to him, we can't get in the car until you invite us into the car. Which is creepy.
The reddest of flags.
If anybody ever says that to you, it's not because they're being polite. It's because they are creepy as all get out. So he immediately was like, nope, sorry, can't help, and drove away. Well, these kids tried to chase him a little bit. Eventually he got away. He was in a car. They were on foot. But the fact that they chased him is creepy.
Even the Fae can't catch a car.
Even the Fae can't catch... Well, maybe they are Fae. I don't really know. And there's been other instances, they coming up to people's houses, them, doing all kinds of creepy stuff that kind of just puts you on edge. It's almost kind of like Uncanny Valley. It's something that is supposed to be sweet and innocent, but they just give off, besides the fact that they have all black eyes, they give off this really creepy, just not right vibe about them. Something's just off.
Like just off enough to be unsettling.
Yeah. And the fact that they hang out like in neighborhoods where they're supposed to be kids, running around on bikes, playing games.
So I've read like a few I don't like different pitches as to what they quote unquote actually are. I've read shapeshifters. I've read zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, supernatural zombies. Maybe.
Yeah.
Edward Elric, brought him back all wrong.
Uh-oh. No, we don't need that.
No, that's not what we need. Or actual possessed children or something like that.
Yeah.
But the changeling idea or fae or whatever you want to call them. That's probably been my favorite idea. That seems like
really
yes.
Oh.
That's the one that stuck with me and really resonates the most for me personally.
Yeah. There's a theory that's kind of similar to the Melonhead children. If you haven't heard of that, look that up. It's the idea that these children were in a laboratory or some sort of insane asylum or orphanage, and this guy come in and start doing experiments on them, or like training them to be these agents, but they're kids, and like something went wrong and they got loose and they weren't able to catch them. So they just kind of covered it up and left it. Didn't go after him, at least not like in a big thing. They were just like, oh, these kids are gone now. Oh no. And that was it. So these kids got loose, and we don't know if they age. We don't know what happened.
Illegal human experimentation was not one that I'd actually run across before.
And that's more associated with the Melonhead story, but there are some, random sources online that'll claim that could also be a theory for that.
No, that's something that I hadn't thought about, which is weird because usually I'm all like, government conspiracy.
There's a couple out there.
I'm like the alien dude, but governments.
Yep.
But no, that's an interesting take. Hadn't thought about that before. So what have you ever? You had a personal encounter to share in our Hatman episode.
Yes.
If you haven't watched it yes. If you haven't experienced that yet in one way or another, check it out. You ever experienced any black-eyed children?
No, I'm good. Which I do. I like children. I've worked with children most of my life. I was everything from a Sunday school teacher. I was a daycare worker for a summer during college. I've done, camp. I've been a camp counselor. I've worked with kids a lot, usually much younger kids. But I've never experienced a kid, and they'll say those creepy, weird things where you're like, how did you come up with that? I've never experienced a black-eyed child. I usually experience children that, have adults and parents around them, and they're fine.
Right.
But
now, I will say,
I've never had a weird kid show up in front of me and ask me for help on a playground or something.
Right.
It's never been like that.
I feel like, and don't get me wrong, these days it's as easy to alter a photo to look, old-timey as it is to put your shoes on. But, I have seen photos that are supposed to be ghost sightings or whatever, in historic photos.
Yeah.
And the idea is because they're older, they could have just photoshopped it, but you could have just photoshopped it to look old. Yeah. So, I don't, it's not necessarily proof, but I've seen in several instances, where there are these older photos of children that are the subject matter is supposed to be supernatural. I see darker eyes in the kids on several occasions. And once again, if it was doctored, they may have just added that in to make it more spooky.
Well, in older photos, I mean, if you think about it, back when we were kids, you had a camera and you took a picture and you hoped it was good.
Yeah, you crossed your fingers real hard.
You couldn't actually see the photo until you took it to Walmart or Walgreens or something, had the photo, the whole roll developed, and then you came back like a few days later, picked it up, came home, looked through the photos, and was like, oh, they were all crap.
Yeah.
But I can't relive those moments, so this is what I've got, just these really crappy photos.
And Polaroid was like magic.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
But yeah, and I mean, and when those photos were taken, people it wasn't uncommon to have quote unquote red eye.
Well, and their lighting was bad.
Yeah.
And they didn't know. That's just how it was.
Yeah, and I mean, and some of those photos were like the early days of photography where
made really weird shadows on your face. You could have just, had really bad bags under your eyes and had bad shadows and lighting, and that just made for a really spooky looking photo of you on your prom. Yep.
Or maybe you were a bloody demon.
Or maybe you're a demon and nobody could tell.
Right, yeah. I think that there's I don't know, it's one of those things. Like I said, I'm whatever the opposite of a raging skeptic is. I'm like the opposite. Like that's me. I'm the opposite of a skeptic.
You want everything to be real.
Yes, I want there to be mystery and hidden depths at every turn.
I would like for there to be, but I need to see the Black-Eyed Children sound really spooky and it would be really interesting if they were real, because you would be able to go out there and maybe ask them questions because they can talk back and they have a brain, so they can respond, hey, this is why I'm doing this, or this is why I need help, or this is where I've come from. That would be interesting, but nobody ever really sticks around them to ask those questions. They just, were your parents? Oh, you don't have parents. Okay, I'm gone. And they leave.
Right.
Because these children, which you could put contacts in someone's eyes and take a picture.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just regular kids out there just messing with adults. I have, and I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. They're called, but it's like SCLEARA, I think is how it's spelled. Sclera. They're like whole eye contact lenses. That I got for Kaneki cosplay way back when. So they're like red and the iris is red and everything else is blacked.
Yeah.
And it creates a pretty freaky effect. So, I could see some kids with a little too much money to burn, getting a hold of some of those and being like, let's spook some people.
Yeah.
But no, like I would like for there to be something to the story. And like I said, I picked out and resonated with like the fae sort of.
That kind of magical aspect of it.
Leprechauns or what have you. But the
could be changelings that got found out.
Yeah. And changelings aren't always fae. But I kind of want to encounter one. I just want to know how far they'll go with the con. Like, at what point are they gonna be like, all right, you know what, you caught me. Let's have it out.
I don't know if you really want to mess with that. If they are real, the stories I've heard, you don't really want to. You won't win.
Yeah. Well, look. I recently.
Those are tricky creatures.
I am what's broadly known as a professional.
Oh, okay.
Professional dumbass. I've never actually been paid for that, but I like to think I'm good at it. I'm not John Constantine. I probably shouldn't go around fighting spooks. I am curious how far how long they'll keep up the pretense of being children before they just get frustrated and just try and have at you the good old fashioned way.
Just kids that got lost?
Just really confused kid spirits.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
And what do you do? Try to like help them find peace, or?
Well, I mean, after a couple of hours of accusing them of being changelings and fae and calling them all sorts of names, I'm gonna feel real bad.
They might just run off.
Like
this guy's too much. We're gonna find a different victim.
They come back with like a 6 foot tall black-eyed child who's just like,
no,
they've been picking on me.
That's not a child. That's something else.
I mean, it might be a giant's child.
You run from that. No.
Yeah, no. At that point, I'm definitely out. I'm just like, my bad. I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna I'll even go get like a children at play sign and put up for you guys. Like, peace. We should get one. We should get a sign that says "Black-eyed children at play" to put outside.
Oh, as a spooky Halloween. Yeah, that'd be fun. So we have neighbors across the street that decorate every year for Christmas, and they are
big. Like award-winning.
Like we don't even need to turn on our lights in the winter. We just open the windows, curtains, and there's light. Yeah,
they light up our whole game room.
It's ridiculous, but I kind of want to compete, but do Halloween.
Just
that would
outlandish
be great.
Halloween.
That'd be fun.
It would be.
Do like the chicken wire ghost, which we've got some chicken wire. I just haven't had time to ghostify. But that would be really cool.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah. That would be really cool. The only downside to hella holiday decorations is then you got to put them up.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we could get some little.
Not that it would stop me, but
child-sized little cutouts and paint some black eyes on there.
Shoot, yeah.
It'd be fun.
But no, so overall, I think that the like I said, I'm not a skeptic. I try to be skeptical to the point of that's obviously like a wooden cutout in your bathtub,
right? Yeah.
Sort of thing. But I feel like there's more out there than what always meets the eye. But I do still. Part of me does still kind of want to just push this sort of to the edge of people getting just kind of creeped,
right? Yeah.
Or being ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the argument is to be made can still be made that for their cryptidosity.
Mm-hmm.
Any other cool Black-eyed children trivia that you can think of?
No, not really. There's not a whole bunch to them.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, compared to other.
I mean, if they're not leading, they're not really leading survivors, then.
Right. Oh my gosh, and they're top.
Yeah.
Top notch in the cryptid world.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing about cryptids is there's 120 sightings every day, or whatever. That's not an actual statistic, but
but there's a number you pulled out of your head.
Yeah, but there's always cryptid sightings somewhere.
Right, especially with the internet now. It's easier to go online and give an anonymous account as opposed to going out to your newspaper saying, "Oh, Billy said this," and then the whole town thinks you're crazy.
Right. You can get online, and we're probably not going to do Bigfoot this season.
There's so many Bigfoots.
There are so many Bigfoots. But you can go online and you can pull up a map of Bigfoot sightings across America, and of just America, and it's nuts how many of them there are. It is crazy how many Bigfoot sightings there are. As far as I know, nobody has made a map for black-eyed children sightings. If they did,
that'd be interesting, though.
Yeah, I
want to see that map.
I would like to see the regional data on it, but also the number of Bigfoot sightings compared to the number of black-eyed children sightings they're way more Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah.
But as far as black-eyed children, either you were smart and you got away, or you weren't smart and you didn't report the sighting.
All those missing people you never hear from.
Yeah. and even, and this is just a good rule of thumb, don't pick up spooky children on the road.
Please don't.
Like,
they come knock on your door, just look them in the eye first.
Yeah.
Ask them a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good idea anyway. If kids come to your door, ask them where they came from, who their parents are, do they have a phone number you can call? Maybe call the police to come pick them up. It's just safer.
Yeah, like,
and children, please don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, don't get out and talk to strangers.
I understand if you're need help, please go find someone to help you, but also be careful talking to strangers.
Don't stick in contacts and try to wig people out.
Oh my goodness.
Especially if you're from the South, they'll shoot you.
Oh no. Hopefully not.
But yeah, no. It's a cool idea. It's super in the spirit of the season, and I'm into it. If you guys have had any of your own spooky children stories, try to hit us up and let us know. These
I
are
going to hear. Does anybody have any spooky stories they want to tell us? I want to read them all.
The interacting over podcast websites is a little bit difficult, but all this, it will be on YouTube. There is a comment section. You know where to find it. This is not your first rodeo, I'm sure. But hit like and subscribe. All that, the usual spiel. And let us know in the comments below if you got any spookage that you've encountered. We would. Amy will eat that up.
I will. I will. I want to know everybody's spooky stories. I want to know all the details too. Where, when, how, why. Just let me know.
Yeah. Until next time, this has been Geek Bye,
guys.
I'm Billy. That's Amy. Later.